Hey guys, and welcome to or back to the Pause in Pursuit podcast with your host, Summer Clark. How are we all? I understand that I literally ask that at the start of every single podcast episode, and you can't reply, can you? You can't tell me how you are, but I'm going to ask it anyway because I'm just a nice person, right? So today I'm going to be telling you how to beat the pre-season Scaries. So most of you have probably heard of the Sunday Scaries, which for most people generally work Monday to Friday. On a Sunday they get what's called the Scaries, which is like nerves at the coming week. Well, today I'm going to be speaking about that, but in agility season terms, because the season is pretty much just about to get started properly. I know we've had some shows, some bits and bobs, but I just judged at my last Inspire of the winter season. And to me, that marks the end of the winter season and means the proper summer season is about to get going. And I know with the shows I've got coming up, that this is pretty much the start of the season. I've got Wire Champ this weekend. And yeah, all I've literally had since my injury is 2 lots of GB tryouts and Crufts. And this is my first proper, normal show since September last year. And that to me means, right, season's back underway. It is happening. I also have some very big news for you. If you follow me on social media, you've definitely already seen this news. But I'm going to share it here anyway. So yeah, that is pretty much what today's episode is. But before I get into it, obviously the weekly recap. Now I'm going to start off with the big news. Me and Arrow were selected for Team GB. I literally still can't believe I'm saying those words. I really did not expect it this year, with coming back from my injury into tryouts with pretty much no proper prep, just the bits that I could do without running. So yeah, my expectations were non-existent pretty much. But yeah, can you tell I'm a bit speechless? I just can't believe it. So after the 2 tryout weekends, we have been selected to represent Team GB at EO in July, which is going to be held in Portugal. Oh my God. In both the team and individual events. So we'll be running in both events, which is even crazier because we got pretty much the whole package. And yeah, I just cannot even believe it. I am still on a high from finding out this news like a week ago. And it was so hard to keep quiet before press release. So hard. But yeah, obviously, biggest thanks goes to the management team for believing in us and seeing our potential, despite what has been such a tricky start to the year for us and coming off the back of an injury for me. And yeah, it hasn't been easy. I sacrificed running at Olympia so that I'd be fit to run my best at GB tryouts and Crufts, obviously. And it's paid off. GB tryouts are over and we've made the team. Crufts is over and we did literally the best we could, except for the seesaw, but I still trained that, so we won't talk about that again. He didn't fly all of his seesaws at GB tryouts second weekend, which is the main thing I was worried about, obviously. So he only actually flew 1. So, and it was on if you actually watch the run, it was jump, seesaw, straight tunnel, and then you had to basically leave them because it was a la or around the back on the jump after the straight tunnel. And I saw so many dogs fly that seesaw. So obviously Arrow did too, because I just had to pelt off. But all of his others, he did not. So thrilled. But yeah, it paid off. It really did pay off. I'm speechless. You know when you're like, right, I'm going to sacrifice Olympia to do well at Crufts and get on Team GB. And then it actually happens and you're like, oh, yes. I'm just so proud of that decision. And it just reaffirms that, we're in this game for the long haul and there's really no point in rushing things or, if you're injured, take that as your sign to be sensible. Because if I'd have thought, no, I have to run at Olympia, ran at Olympia and made my injury worse, I wouldn't have been able to perform my best or run at all at tryouts and Crufts. And mainly tryouts because that would have impacted my entire year because I wouldn't be going to EO, which obviously is my main goal this year, is to go to EO, and it's happened. So, oh my God. Oh, thank you so much to everyone who's already congratulated and said how much we deserve it and stuff like that. Appreciate you all. But yeah, Arrow, oh my God, what a dog. I'm so lucky. Everything that happens just reaffirms how lucky I am to have Arrow and share this amazing journey with him, despite how hard it's all been. Look what it's done for us. Look, we've come out the other side of all these hard things, and there's going to be more hard things, obviously, but we know we can get through them. And now it's time to work harder, literally, than we've ever worked before, and give it everything out there in Portugal in July. So we've got March, April, May, June. March is over. April, May, June, less than 4 months to prepare, which is so plenty of time, but it's going to go so quickly. So yeah, absolutely thrilled with the team selections as well. We've got a youngster team on in mediums of me, Jamie, Amy and Max, which is super exciting. And yeah, we're just going to have a great time out there. It's going to be the best agility holiday ever. And obviously thanks to our amazing trainer Lucy, Arrow's breeder Sophie, our hugest supporter, which is my mum. She literally does everything for us. Arrow's physio Megan. Arrow goes to Megan Hunt at Pace Therapy for his physio appointments, and everyone else who has been there throughout our journey. We appreciate all of you, and yeah, thanks for coming to my TED Talk about getting on Team GB. Also, obviously, to my sponsors, who you know, and then the Team GB sponsors, all of that. But yeah, go check out the full post on social media if you want to see those sponsors. But yeah, that is the big news, guys. The very, very big news. What else have I been doing this week? Everything else seems quite insignificant compared to that. I judged at my last Inspire show, as I said, which is exciting because it now means that, like I said, it is pretty much, we're going into the proper summer season. But it was a really good day judging. I was pleased with all 4 of my courses. I was judging jumping this time. I often do agility, but this time I was doing jumping, and I'm pretty sure Ruth tries to rotate so the judges get, some agility, some jumping throughout the months. Obviously, I missed half the months because of my foot. So I mainly came back, did several agilities in a row, and then this one jumping, which meant that I had 4 different courses to design. And yeah, I had a really good day. All of the courses ran exactly as planned. Again, that happened last time, which was amazing. So go on to my social media at Pause in Pursuit or Summer Clark if you want to see the courses. And in the post about my courses, I've pinpointed the most common faults in the courses. To be honest, in the lower grades, there was a threadle wrap or around the back, depending on what side the handle was on. That was the most common fault in that one. In the 1 to 2, that was. Number 4 in the 1 to 3. So what was that? Let's see what example that was. Number 4. Oh, it was an in. So it was a weaves and then a threadle slice and then a tunnel. So the threadle slice was the biggest fault on that. And then the 4 to 6 and then the 7. So 2 different courses. It was the same part that was actually the trickiest, and it was because it was a huge blast down. It was jump, tunnel, and then around the back. And most handlers did not get there for that round the back. So obviously, if you're not there, the dogs took the face side. Some dogs did listen to the round the back cue with the handlers being at a distance, which was super impressive. But yeah, really pleased with the day, and as well as the high of going clear or nailing a skill, which a lot of you did on those courses. I also hope they've given everyone something to go away and work on as the summer season starts to kick off, which is the main thing that I like to get out of my days judging, is giving people, almost a little glimpse into the next grade, or a little, maybe one skill, these little skills where they, it's kind of a hint that you really need to train these because you're going to be seeing more of them as you progress. And that's what it is, isn't it? Agility is all about progression. So yeah, really grateful to Ruth for inviting me to judge at all the Inspire shows. My mum scrimmed for me at every single one. She actually didn't feel very well either on this day, but she pushed through anyway, which, what a legend. Knowing me, I would have been really dramatic about it and just cried all day. But actually I did cry. I was going to say that judging appointment where I felt really unwell, when people were being nasty about my courses, behind my mum. If you haven't seen the post about that, go look through my social media. And also, there's a podcast episode called A Message to the Haters that says what happened with that day. But I did feel unwell and I did cry, but not because I felt unwell, because I felt unwell and then I got those comments. But you've all heard that story. Yeah, had the best ring party as well. The ring parties at Inspire are always so good, so helpful. And that was pretty much been my week. I have rambled like you would not believe in this intro. 10 minutes of an intro. So let's get straight into it. Not going to be the longest episode in the world. Short, sweet and snappy. I feel like, again, I say that for most episodes and then it does end up being long. But this week is so busy. I have such a busy week coming up with teaching late into the evening and stuff like that, I mean, it's nearly 6 p.m. on Tuesday night. Tomorrow I will have no time to record an episode. So I planned it earlier today and we're recording now. So yeah, just getting an episode out there for you guys. My podcast episode that I recorded with Nikki Hinson, all about the differences between agility and heel work to music, will be coming out next Wednesday. So a week today. So get ready for that. Make sure you're following the podcast so you don't miss it. But yeah, so let's get into it. So this is pretty much how to beat the pre-season scaries, in my opinion. So hopefully this will help you going into the upcoming season. So number one is to set realistic and achievable, yet motivating and exciting goals for the season. So to go into the season, you want to do two things. You want to set yourself goals, but you want to make them achievable so that you're not feeling nervous about not achieving them or demoralised when you aren't achieving them after a few months or whatever. But you also want to make them exciting and motivating so that the thought of achieving them does excite you and you're like, oh my God, yeah, I really do want that, which motivates you to work towards them, if that makes sense. So goal setting is a tricky thing. It sounds really simple, but there's a lot more to it than a lot of people think. So yeah, I would definitely I would sit down and write down your goals. And if you're still struggling, I would get some help setting goals. So if you work with a trainer or a coach, they're the ones to help you out setting goals. And just make sure they're clear, they're realistic, but they also excite you. So that is my first tip. Number two, like I just kind of touched on, is to have a training plan in place that works to your weaknesses. So again, I go on about this all the time, but make sure that you're not just training what you're already good at because it feels good. And we have all done this, sometimes it's nice to do that still when we just want to, go out there and run for fun. But generally, for the season ahead, you want a solid, clear training plan in place with structure that really attacks your weaknesses and is actually going to turn those weaknesses into strengths, things that you are confident in your ability to do when you see them out there in competition this season. So again, making a training plan is harder than it looks. So that's where having a trainer or a coach there to help you with that process and make sure that you have something there that will actually work over time is really beneficial. You want to make sure your training plan is not a quick fix. That doesn't exist. Everything that works and is sustainable and maintainable in the long term takes time. And the last thing that you want to do and should do is rush, because say you have things, you want to achieve this by this show or this month in the season, or don't rush it, okay? Be realistic with it and accept that maybe for some things that you're working towards, that's not going to be achieved by this show that you really would rather it be achieved by, okay? That's just how it is. These things take time and that's absolutely fine. And that is all part of the fun of it, isn't it? If it was easy and it came quickly to all of us, agility wouldn't be so addictive, right? So saying that, we all were like, oh no, you're all thinking, Summer, I'd actually love that short, but you know what I mean. Next point is have a trainer or coach on your team. So honestly, Lucy is my absolute saving grace. Love Lucy, not only just for, my weekly Wednesday sessions with Arrow, but also, I will message her when I want some help or support or advice about anything Arrow related, to be honest, not even just agility. But yeah, she's just so supportive and helpful. She helps me when I'm not sure what to do about something. I can go to her with my training issues, or not even issues, just my thoughts or things that I'm coming up against and going through, because we all have something all the time. I'm a trainer, but us trainers also like to have feedback and help from other trainers, because no one wants to just have their perspective and no one else's. It's great to get lots of different perspectives, and that helps you to improve your knowledge even further. So, no trainer is ever fully knowledgeable about everything in the sport, and there's always more to learn from other trainers, if that makes sense. But it's about having that person that is a little bit more experienced and knowledgeable than you, which Lucy is for me, to help you, if that makes sense. This person can also help you set goals, write your training plan and stuff like that, as well as just support you when it does get tough and stuff like that. Yeah, I need to stop saying stuff like that, but very, very important point, that one. So the next point is train in as many different locations and on as many different types of equipment as possible. Goes without saying, really. Shows throughout the season are all going to be at different locations, on potentially different surfaces. So you've got your grass, sand, astro. You're probably going to see more grass now that we're going into the summer season. So you want to be training on different surfaces so that you don't end up going to a show and thinking, oh bollocks, I haven't trained on this surface. For example, if you only train on grass, I was about to say glass then, don't do that, geez. Grass, and then you go to Iconics and you haven't trained on sand, you're then going to be like, well, my dog's not going to do as well because of the surface. And then if anything goes wrong, you're going to blame it on the surface, which we don't want to be doing. We don't want to be placing blame on external factors where possible. We want to be, putting it all into the training, if that makes sense. So you need to be as prepared as possible so that you don't have any other reason to do poorly, except for maybe you haven't trained something, which in that case you can then go away and train it, if that makes sense. So simple things like location and surface. Location as well being different types of shows. So bigger shows, smaller shows, shows with fence rings, shows with non-fence rings, obviously, unless your dog runs out of the ring. In that case, don't go to non-fenced ring shows. That, again, common sense. Shouldn't need to say that, but, some people might still need to hear that. Just a reminder. So, yeah, different, vibes of shows, sizes of shows, different shows that have more spectators or more people there, shows that have less, stuff like that. One ring shows, many ring shows. And obviously, we've got so many different types of equipment these days. Don't even get me started on that. I'm hoping one day it'll all just be one type of equipment, ideally Gallican. I think that's the way that it's going. But yeah, I would like it to be that in the end, just one type of equipment, whatever that is. I mean, first contact would be fine, but I think it's going to end up being all Gallican. And I just want it to be one type of equipment, because like the seesaw and the dog walk being different, and it's only marginally different, but like the weight of the seesaw, our dogs, especially our nervous dogs, just no wonder they freak out. No wonder they're like, what on earth? Like I would if I came across the same principle of a thing that felt slightly different. It'd throw you off, wouldn't it? But anyway, we can't change that right now. So what you can do for now is to train on as many different types of equipment as possible in training. So you can hire venues. I train on First Contact with Lucy, but obviously Dog Sports Derby has Gallican. I avoid Adams, and I think it's JDA that have the seesaws that are bang complete, or they're completely a different weight and a different bang or whatever, and they just go down differently and it freaks dogs out. So I avoid those with Arrow because of his previous nerves and his seesaw issue that crops up. But yeah, you want to train on those different types, ideally First Contact and Gallican at the moment, just so your dog is prepared no matter which one they see in competition, because all shows are different. Obviously, you can see what type of equipment a show runs on in the schedule before you enter it, and make decisions there, but it's best to train on as many as possible, and then you are ready for whatever comes up. Another one is to enter lots of shows to gain experience and confidence. So again, the best thing you can do to get through it is to just do it, is a great motto. So just get them entered and just go, even if it goes tits up. Like just get in there, go for it, try it out, try your hand. And like I said, if you don't win, you've gained experience. Okay, if you don't go clear, you've gained experience. And through gaining experience, you also gain confidence. Okay, so it's a win-win. You just have to throw yourself out there and get that experience under your belt, and the confidence will naturally come and you will feel less nervous as you go along. The nerves will never completely go away. For some people, I know they do, or they're just not a nervous person. I still get nervous, but it's way, way less than I did when I started, and that's just because I've been doing it for so long and I've competed at so many different shows, okay? Next thing is to check in with yourself or your coach after every competition, ideally both, and discuss what went well, what went wrong, and what needs to happen moving forward. So again, it's about having that plan in place. It's that sort of gratifying yourself and your dog for what went well, which is super important to keep motivation up, and motivate you to keep training and keep pushing. And just be, get that feel-good feeling of, hard work up to this point has paid off because this went well. Even if it's not a win, even if it's not a clear, there's always things that went well in your runs. This is why I think you should always try and get your runs videoed. I get all of my runs videoed because I need to look back on it, and this helps me with my check-in at the end. So what went well, then what went wrong, and then how could that have been fixed? Either whether that was your handling, and if it is, don't kid yourself. Just think, well, I'll handle it like this next time I see that. Make a note of that, write that down so you don't forget. And then what needs to happen moving forward? So what do you need to go away and work on so that if this crops up in a course in the future, you're going to smash it because you've worked on it, if that makes sense. So check-in afterwards is really important. There's no good just competing and then just completely forgetting it happened, and then because you'll just see similar things in the future and make the same mistakes. So you've got to have that sort of check-in or debrief, I suppose, whatever you want to call it, and you can do that on your own or with your trainer or both. Next point is to understand that there is nothing wrong with taking a break mid-season if you need one. So just because the season is happening doesn't mean you need to compete every weekend throughout the whole thing, okay? You could take a break for a month or however long you want, or just miss a show if you don't want to do it or something. There's no pressure to do everything all season. I know I felt that before, doing my calendar, thinking, oh my God, I've got so many shows that I want to do, so many things with qualifiers and champ, I want to do all of them, but sometimes you can't do all of them, and that's fine. Sometimes we don't have time, life gets in the way, work gets in the way, we can't afford all of them, and that's absolutely fine. You don't need to do every single thing, and you can just take a break if you want. Bang in the middle of the summer season, that's fine, okay? Yes, taking breaks is more popular in the winter and encouraged and kind of glamorized, but you can do that in the summer if you need to. Again, I say it all the time, but your journey is yours. Next point is don't create unnecessary pressure by putting certain shows on a pedestal. So obviously some shows do have more classes or qualifiers at them that you want to do well in, so that show automatically takes precedence of importance in your mind. But try to go into every show with the same mindset and the same approach, no matter what is at that show or how big the show is, stuff like that. So really work on going in with the same goals, same mindset of, attack the course, trust your dog. And if there's something specific you want to do in that ring, say you've been working on your threadle wraps, you want a successful threadle wrap at that show, keep that consistent at all of the shows. Don't put one show on a massive pedestal. Like, for example, Iconics or KCI, don't go into them thinking, oh, this is a really big show, there's really good judges here, blah, 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 I need to do well. Try not to do that. A show's a show, and the more pressure you put on a certain show, probably the worse you're going to do at it, so it defeats the object. So just think of all shows as a show, and you've got a job to do. Go in and do that job consistently across all the shows. Same thing, same routine, same approach every time. It's the same game, isn't it? Okay, nearly done. So the next point is to start the season with smaller shows instead of throwing yourself straight into a big one, if you feel like that would help you. For me, it wouldn't phase me. I've done all the shows, seen all the shows, so there isn't like big, small in my mind in that sense. Obviously I know when I'm going into an important class like a qualifier, which you are going to be more nervous for, that's just normal. But if you think it'll benefit you to enter a smaller local show first and just get that done to get you sort of get that momentum going for the season. And then you enter the big ones maybe after you've got a month or so of small ones under your belt. Then that could be a good idea just to get you into the swing of things instead of plummeting straight into a big scary show, because that's not going to help as far as the pre-season scaries go. But once you're already into the season and you've got some shows under your belt, the smaller ones, you won't have those pre-season scaries anymore because the season's happening, it's underway, and you're already partway through it. So that could work quite well. Obviously, I've done the opposite in a way of having 6 months off competing, and then my first show back is GB tryouts, then Crufts, then GB tryouts again. But I've been competing for a very long time, and I've competed at, international events and stuff. So that wasn't awful for me mentally. But yeah, if you're newer to it, for example, and to be honest, if I had a choice coming back from that injury, I would have done smaller shows first, but I just didn't. I wasn't ready to run. But yeah, don't feel like you have to go, big show straight away. Start small and build up, okay? Last point then is don't put pressure on yourself to match or surpass last season results-wise. Now, I know us agility people, we all have this thing where we do our end-of-year post, end-of-season results and list them and stuff like that, which is super fun and amazing to look back on your achievements and be proud. But at the same time, don't put pressure on yourself to do that again or do better next year because you think it'll look bad if you do worse, because that's not the case. Every year is different. I like to think of it as a different chapter. You're going to face different challenges and obstacles and stuff. No year is the same. For example, last year I won literally every class at Crufts. This year I won 2. That's just how it is, different circumstances. I'd just come back from an injury this time. I hadn't last time, stuff like that. So, you don't have to, but then at the same time, I got on development squad for GB last year. This year I got on, properly, not properly, you know what I mean? Not as development, as an actual member, if that makes sense. How do you know the difference? Last year we had a development squad. This year we don't. We just have a GB squad, if that makes sense, because obviously last year it was in the UK. So I've surpassed that this year in that sense. But then I didn't surpass Crufts, but it's a different year. So it's fine, if that makes sense. Don't put that pressure on yourself. Don't think, I did this at this show last year, I have to do that again or better because everyone's expecting me to, because that does not help. That will not help you. And really, again, without this sounding mean, no one cares that much. No one's thinking that much about, is she going to do it? If you do, you do. If you don't, you don't. People will get over it. You'll get over it. So don't think this season has to be better than last season, because you're going to have ups and downs. Chances are you will have a better season than last season at some point in your future, especially if you're in agility for the long haul. But it's not necessarily going to be this season. It could be in 3 years. In 3 seasons, you may have your best season ever. But this year might actually be worse. But swings and roundabouts, ups and downs. Sometimes 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. But then another 7 steps forward, you know how it is. You get my drift, okay? So we're not putting pressure on ourselves to do better this season than last season. It's a new season. Obviously, it is good to have your goals. Maybe your goals is to, maybe if you are super competitive and this really helps motivate you, you could say, I want to match this event. I want to match what I did at this event last year, this year. If that really helps and motivates you, fine. But if that puts pressure on you and you feel that pressure doing that, don't do it. You don't have to do that, if that makes sense. So that's it, guys. I hope that was helpful. I hope you're all excited about the start of the season. Anyway, I know I am. It's come around very quickly, hasn't it? It really has. And I'm excited. But you know what I'm most excited for? Not freezing my arse off. That's what I'm excited for. Not only competing, but obviously teaching, dog walking, all the things that I do. Can't wait. Like I said, I've got some evening workshops this week, and I really just don't want it to be cold. There's nothing worse than it being dark and cold out there, okay? So yeah, it's going to get lighter. It's already starting to get lighter. It's 6 p.m. now. I'm pretty sure it's still light. I wouldn't know. I'm in my bedroom on my bed with Ethel, chilling. But yeah, getting lighter, getting warmer, spirits are getting higher, and I hope you can beat the pre-season scaries. Maybe you don't even have the pre-season scaries. Or maybe this applies to you in a sense of maybe you're like me and we're just coming back from an injury and you've got the scaries of going back into it. So yeah, I hope these tips help you. So what is coming up for me then? So like I said, I'm teaching 2 workshops this week. And I also am competing at Wire Champ on Saturday. So if anyone is there, I will see you there. That will be fun. First champ of the season. My first champ since September last year. Lol. So excited to get back out into champ. Ethel has just started whining for some reason. I think she wants her tea, so I better go feed her. But anyway, that is what I'm doing. Make sure you are following the podcast so that you don't miss a future episode, including my podcast with Nikki Hinson, like I said at the start, which is coming out a week today, all about the differences between agility and heel work to music. And then I will have the following week, I will have an episode with Vicky Fraser, and we're going to be talking about preventing and rehabilitating injuries in agility dogs, which is going to be a really interesting topic. Vicky is the Team GB vet, so she has literally seen it all. So yeah, make sure you're following the podcast so you don't miss that. Ethel, stop whining. If you're feeling generous, please do leave the podcast a 5-star rating and review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. That would mean the world to me. Also, make sure you're following me on social media at Pause in Pursuit or Summer Clark on all the platforms, especially Instagram. On their... That was a really nice noise, Ethel. Especially Instagram, on there pretty much every day on stories and stuff like that. And yeah, I think that's everything I say. I also offer one-to-one online coaching. So the inquiry form is in the description of this podcast episode. You can fill in the form and then we can have a chat to see if we're a match. If not, no problem. It commits you to nothing, but we can just have a chat about maybe I could help you with your training plan for this season or setting goals, or if there's anything you're struggling with, anything like that. So definitely fill that out and I will have a look at it and get back to you and we can just have a chat. But I think that's everything for this week, guys. Thanks for listening. Again, I said it'd be a short episode and it's actually been 32 minutes. Lol. Isn't that always the case? But yeah, without further ado, I will let you all get on with your week. Have a great one and I will speak to you next week. Bye, guys.